Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I am honored to have Jamie Quarles with me. Jamie is an assistant men's basketball coach at Providence and has been making his way through the basketball ranks. And one of the things I think you're going to hear in his journey today is when you're dedicated to your craft, the results will come. So, Jamie, thanks so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to get a chance to join the pod. I've been following and we had some really good guests on here, so I'm
Well, we'll just
happy to be in
added
the
to
number.
that today.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, so to start your story, you grew up in Augusta, Georgia. Talk a little bit about getting roped in and loving into sports and basketball specifically as a youngster.
I was born and raised in the gym. My dad was a high school coach, athletic director. So from as long as I could remember, going to games, riding the bus with the team, being in the locker room, I was destined to be around athletics in some shape or form. Uh, My dad was he coached basketball as well, but football was his passion. He played football in college, and so by the time I got to high school, I knew that I wanted to follow in his footsteps. Didn't
Yeah.
know that it would be on a collegiate level at that time, but I knew I wanted to coach basketball and impact lives. And here I am, 25 years later.
I love it. Now, I think for so many people, there's the introduction to sports, but then for a certain select few, there becomes like a passion in the sport. So for you, when did you really fall in love with the game of basketball? And I mean, as we progress, you'll end up playing college basketball. But when did you start having that desire of like, all right, I really want to, have this passion and go play collegiately?
It was probably about seventh grade. Like
Okay.
I really, really love basketball, Phil. I love going to the gym. We live right around the corner from a YMCA. So from the time I was in seventh grade until actually I moved away from Augusta as a 30-year-old, most of my evenings were finished at the YMCA. And
Yeah.
just being in the locker room, seeing the way that the guys over the years like just like loved my dad and respected him and how he had an impact on their lives. And as I was getting older, seeing guys come back and talk about
Mm,
how much Coach Quarles had an impact on their life, it really continued to push me toward wanting to impact lives, wanting to coach basketball, and what better way to do it than be able to be around a game I love and
yeah.
impact lives and help guys grow. And so I was pretty dialed in around seventh to eighth grade.
Amazing. Now, through the high school career, you start having more and more success, and that gets some college opportunities. And you end up deciding, hey, I like Augusta. I'll stick around here and play my college basketball here in Augusta. So, talk a little bit about that for you, and the decision to stay in the local community.
So uh, probably the one thing I love as much as the game of basketball outside my family and God and all that stuff is the city of Augusta. Being
Yeah.
born and raised there and just kind of um, over the years, like when I go to a gym, hey, little Coral, like just being in Augusta. Yeah, I love my city and where I'm from.
Yeah.
Up until about 11th grade, I never thought about staying home. Um, Augusta College at the time had a really good program with a lot of tradition, but like if you were a local guy, you just really didn't, unless you were a normal student that wanted to stay because you had a really good job. You didn't really want to go out to college. You stayed and went to Augusta University as it is known now.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to go to Morehouse. And this
Mm,
was around the same time that I knew that like I'm a pretty good player, not a great player, but I was a college level player at some level. I didn't quite know the
yeah.
level. Knew I wasn't a Division I player, but knew that I could play in college. And so around 11th grade, halfway through 11th grade, started kind of getting noticed by some colleges, getting a little recruitment going. And um, Coach Demetrius, who's one of my closest mentors in the world, he took over at Augusta University my senior year in high school, and
Okay.
I had a chance to be a part of the first recruiting class. He came in with a really good reputation of being a good ball coach. His former players loved him, and it all made sense, man. And I was fortunate to that he invited me to be on the team and offered me a scholarship. So that was all that she wrote.
Amazing. Well, from year 1 with a new head coach for and a new recruiting class to by the time you're a senior, you guys are playing in the national championship game. Talk a little bit about the trajectory and the building blocks. I think, something so many people wanna do is get to the championship, but they don't see all the years of building and growth and team camaraderie that goes into that final, season, that final run to get to the championship.
No, for sure, and, yeah, being a part of that was special. Coming in from year 1 and the program had been down a little bit, they had been competitive, but it wasn't a lot of pop around it. And
Yeah.
Dip, he brought that in from day one. Our group was special that we all came in with, and we just built it block by block. I was so happy to be a part of that. I wasn't a great player. I was a backup to the backup, but played in a few meaningful games. Met some friends that changed my life, guys that are in my wedding to this day. That
Yeah.
some of my closest friends had a chance to compete in the Division Two national championship. We won a lot of games. Dip taught me a lot. There's where I realized I really wanted to coach in college.
Mm.
And to go from where we started, I think our first year we were 17-12, maybe, to my last game as a college player, having a chance to play in the Division Two national championship. Like I couldn't write a better college career. I didn't score as many points as I would have liked, but like none of that stuff matters anyway. It matters the camaraderie, the friends that I met, the how much I grew as a man, and it prepared me for the real world and to tackle college basketball.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think, for so many people, the way you envision, a career, whether it's sports or business, whatever it is you think about all the highlight things, right? Like my guess is, Jamie didn't go into college thinking, man, I'd love to be, a role player or a support player on this team. It's like, well, no, I'm working my tail off. I want to be a significant contributor and points, rebounds, defense, whatever it is. And then sports has a weird way of kind of teaching you some life lessons of, Jamie, it's not always just about your personal accomplishments. It's actually if the team accomplishes something, that's good for everybody. So talk a bit about that for you in that season of life. I mean, were you willingly, able to accept that role? Was that something that, hey, had to kind of overcome some ego to start and then eventually found your role in the position you were going to play on the team, or talk about that for you?
Um, it was definitely like I will say I think one thing that I pride myself on and that I think is a strength of mine is humility.
Mm,
And from day one, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and I had no problem. I was hard because hey, everyone wants to play more. But you know, I was able to identify what strengths I brought to the team,
yeah,
and I think it was a vital part of our success. Although it wasn't, me doing what AJ Bowman did, who was my roommate, who was our best player,
yeah,
being a Division two All American, or Steve Smith, who was in my wedding, who was our starter, who was better than me on one knee. But so it was definitely difficult at times, but like the way I was raised and just what I learned in that season of life in those 4 years was I needed to find out what I could do to
mm,
really bring value to the team.
yeah,
And I took pride in doing that every day, and that the fact that the guys respected me for it, and they knew that it was important, and everyone has a role, and I feel like that really helped guide me into the characteristics that I try to bring to staff that I'm a part of now.
yeah.
But whether it's whatever needs to be done, there's no job too big, too small, and that really came from my college experience and knowing my role in the program. So it definitely was. Yeah, I would have liked to say, "Hey, I scored 1,000 points," but the lessons I learned and the teams I was able to be a part of was far more important.
I love it. Now, as you're getting ready to graduate and wanting to go into the coaching profession, I'd love to say, hey, right out of school, Duke came calling and you, landed this high major D1 basketball role. But you did land a high caliber high school role. And so you go and start coaching at Oak Hill Academy. So talk a little bit about the transition from college into the high school ranks and starting to coach.
Yeah, so probably almost around this time of senior year, maybe when the season ended. I had just finished my student teaching, so I was going to be certified to coach and teach in state of Georgia. But I knew I really wanted to coach in college.
Yeah.
My college coach sat me down and he said, I'm going to help you as much as I can. I'm going to tell you that it's a really hard business to get into, and it's an even harder business to advance in.
Mm.
And like I tell people that to this day when I talk to younger guys that are getting into the business, and those words like hold true. Like that's like I never forget that because he was so right. It's so
Yeah.
hard to get in and even harder to advance. And so yeah, I thought I was going to apply and get a GA spot at Clemson, the first school
Yeah.
popped in my head, and I would do that for 2 years, and then I'd be the ops guy, and then I'd be the head coach at Georgia Southern, and by 37, and life doesn't happen that way, and especially in college coaching, which I learned quickly,
Yeah.
and so I was able, man, with the help of William Avery and a bunch of guys, I was connected with Oak Hill Academy. They were looking for a red team coach to coach their second varsity team, and I drove up, never been away from home, and it was a match made in heaven. So for 2 years I was there. I got a chance to coach my own team, to really be around some high level guys every day and coaches, and learn a lot about myself. I went from, hey, 6 months ago I was um, senior year in college, coming off of that Division II national championship appearance, to, man, I'm in Mouth of Wilson, Virginia, population 400 at a private Southern boarding school.
Yeah.
And but it was a great experience. I wouldn't have changed the trajectory any other way. And I learned a lot about myself in those 2 years, and I got a lot better, and I was well more prepared for college basketball.
Yeah. Now, getting to start, coaching your own team, like you mentioned, I think sometimes what happens is people feel the pressure to coach like someone else, right? Like, hey, there's another coach in the program. I need to be like them, or they mimic the coach that they grew up playing for. And if it's not authentically you, oftentimes it just doesn't land well with the team. So, talk a little bit about your kind of like development of your coaching style. I mean, I'm sure you're a conglomeration of, different coaches you've had and different coaches you've been around, but was it hard to find that authentic style for you and not necessarily just mimic someone that you had grown up around?
Um, Yes and no. A little bit of like watching my dad all the years, and then getting to the collegiate level and like watching Dip all those years. I'm like, okay, well, these guys have done it and they've been successful at it. So like, I just need to copy what they do. And, but I couldn't get after guys the way the Dip does. And
Yeah.
my dad is like, we were just different. I didn't have that trait, and so I realized I needed to take the things that they did really well, and make it my own. And then
Yeah.
the things that, oh well, okay, well I can't do that, or maybe I wouldn't do that if I was in charge. So how can I accomplish the same goal but doing it a different way? And I started to kind of put that together, and so it was super exciting to get a chance right away to lead my own team. It wasn't in college, and because I got a chance to firsthand answer all those questions: how I would do this, how would I do that, how would I handle discipline, how would I
Yeah.
handle like things in the school building. So those 2 years, and especially considering a couple of those guys I was like 3 years older than, 4 years older than.
Yeah.
Uh, Getting a chance to experience that really helped mold me and prepare me.
Amazing. Now, after a couple years at Oak Hill, I think if you treat people well, people will pick up on that, and you find yourself with an opportunity to go and coach at the college level at a place that's very familiar to you. So, talk about how the opportunity at Augusta came about.
So after the 2 years at Oak Hill, it's funny, man, because I really try to pride myself on that. Just treating people the right way,
Yeah.
being genuine, and like I think it'll work out for you. And
Yeah.
like, I think I'm a testament to that. Like I don't have all the answers. There's a lot of things that I need to improve on and continue to try to work on. But I think that's huge, just treating people the right way.
Yeah.
So funny segue into that. After my second year at Oak Hill, so during the summer you're working camps and you're trying to meet people. And so those 2 summers I was working, I would go for 4 or 5 weeks and I would work Duke camp, I would work Clemson camp, where I would try to put together a schedule. And so I worked Clemson camp. And at the time, Michael Morrell, who's the head coach at UNC Asheville now, he's the
Yep.
director of operations. I worked the camp. I stay an extra 3 or 4 days because they needed additional coaches for their team camp. I get back to Augusta and like 5 days later, I'm getting a call from Mike Morrell. And I'm like, man, did I screw something up at camp? Like, did I like take their room key by accident? He says, hey, James, how you doing, man? Hey, you did a great job at camp. We appreciate it. And this is a kids camp, where, you're meeting people, but I'm doing shooting drills with
Yeah.
12-year-old Clemson fans.
Yeah.
And he says, man, I thought about you. I know you were looking to get into college ranks. My favorite coach in the world, George Pitts, who's a Tennessee High School Hall of Fame inductee, is looking for an assistant. King is just transitioning in Division II. Like, you should give him a call. I drive up, I interview, Coach Pitts hires me. I'm there for 1 year. Robbie McKinley, who was our assistant at the time at Augusta, and I also played under him, he decides to go back to Australia for an opportunity that he just couldn't pass on. And Coach Dip needed an assistant. And man, I packed up the car. Coach Pitts completely understood it. 3 years earlier, I was on the sideline playing for him.
Yeah.
And I drove to Augusta, started work, and man, you couldn't tell me that I hadn't hit the lotto. Getting a chance to get my master's, then on the Division II level, there's no three assistants, an ops guy, and GAs. It was just me, and
Yeah.
we had a couple volunteers, and so you get to do everything. And unbelievable experience, unbelievable 6 years of my life.
So amazing. So, as you think about that, one thing I want to highlight there, someone listening today is saying, man, I really want this role. And it could be in business, it could be in coaching, whatever it is. But they're not necessarily doing the small unseen things to put themselves in the opportunity, right? You didn't have to go work the 12-year-old basketball camp. You could have been like, hey, that's just not my thing. Like I'm at least a high school level, camp counselor. I'm at least, trying to help colleges. But you said, no, I'm willing to go help at this, younger kids camp. And because of the way you interacted there, because of the way you treated people, that opened the door. So, talk a little bit about that as, piece of advice for someone. Just, put yourself in the position to get noticed.
For sure. Yeah. And it's hard. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I remember so many nights, okay, man, like we had a great career. I'll keep striking out. Like I've gotten way more. I've been fortunate to have 5 jobs now, and I've struck out way, way more than 5 times. I've gotten way, way more than 5 emails saying we're gonna go in a different direction.
Yep.
I've gotten I've gotten calls from other people where the job that I interviewed with didn't even call to tell me. I had to hear it secondhand. So, but I just kind of keep my head down and keep working and keep treating people the right way. And finding like peace in having a job, which
Yeah.
allowed me to work in basketball, no matter what the pay was at the time. I was in a position where I could do it,
Yep.
and I just knew if I just kept chasing and kept doing it the right way, and I had committed to I want to work in college basketball, that it had to work out. Like if I did all those things and it's continuing to work out, and I'm not gonna change how I approach it. So like I would advise anybody out there, like if you know this is exactly what I want to do, and you have an opportunity to forge a path, whether it's the way you think it should go, or it's an unconventional path, like you have to just keep going.
Yep. Do the unrequired things, and you never know how much good luck you'll find, right?
Absolutely, that's important.
I love it. So after your time at Augusta, and like you said, you were there for years, you end up transitioning to Buffalo. So talk a little bit about how the opportunity with Buffalo came up, and I'm sure. I'm sure there was excitement to go on to Buffalo, but there was also probably a hard part of, leaving a place that you love.
No, it definitely was, and, it's another ironic story. So, I, after year 3 or 4, during the summers, we were trying to find opportunities to get into Division I level, and, same thing, I was just met with a lot of no's, I was met with, it's close, but we're gonna go with this guy," and, every time in the offseason, Coach Dip was, "Hey, let's chase this lead, chase that lead," and it just wasn't working out. Um I had met Brian, who's my boss now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, actually T. Butters, who's on our staff now. We met working Duke basketball camp. So
Okay.
those same summers, matter of fact, that same summer that I was at camp and Mike Morrell called me, T, and Brian were working Duke's basketball camp the week before. And he gave me a shout and said, "Man, Richie Riley, who's now the head coach of South Alabama, Richie Riley is looking for an assistant at Nichols State. You should give him a call." He connected us. Richie said, "Why don't you come out here?" I drove to Thibodaux, Louisiana from Augusta.
Yeah.
Spent 2 days with Richie. He didn't know me, just off the word of Brian, and we spent time together. And he offered me the job. And I every time I see Richie now, I had a chance to play against him when we were in Sun Belt. Like I just tell him thank you. Every now and then, randomly, I'll text him thank you because he gave me a Division I opportunity when nobody else would, and he
Yeah.
didn't know me at all, and that's really really hard to come by. So I'm out there literally, Phil, for 6.5 weeks or so. And so I had gone to Buffalo to visit Brian, talk hoops with Nate Oates. He's a big offensive guy, and that was kind of my thing too. So we spent a little time together. Brian helped kind of get me organized with some, like, okay, these are the junior college coaches you need to hit the ground running with, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I go back to Nichols. I'm working, and Brian called and said, "Hey, man, Lindsey Hunter's who was on their staff at the time, is going to get out of college coaching and go back to Detroit. His son's going to be a senior in high school, blah, blah, blah." And
Yeah.
Nate is had two NBA retired guys in that role the last couple of years, and he's looking to do something a little different. He kind of wants somebody that's just young and hungry that can do whatever, that can hop in the car on a notice.
You got
And
I know a guy like that.
yeah. So I'm literally like, I call, we have a couple of conversations with Nate, and he offers me the job. So I'm terrified. Like, I never forget this. I'm at another teammate of mine, the wedding. And I'm like, how do I call and tell Richie that, like, the guy didn't know me and he hired me. I can't just leave after 7 weeks. And so I was prepared to tell Nate, like, "Oh man, like Richie gave me an opportunity. Like, I can't do this to him. Like, I really appreciate it, but I'm going to stick to my word."
Yeah.
And so when I called Richie, he told me I'd be a fool not to go, and I better go. And so I drove back to that weekend after the wedding, drove back to Thibodaux,
Yeah.
packed up my car again, drove to Augusta. I was there for maybe 3 days. I got this alumni award, so I had to go to the banquet. And the next morning, I got in the car, Phil, at 6 a.m., drove to Buffalo. I never forget. They were reading as a staff Urban Meyer Above the Line book.
Yeah.
And so I listened to it on audio on the way up there. And I hit the office and started working. And the rest was history. I was moving to Buffalo, New York.
So, one thing that I think, is a true focus is in reality is basketball, right? There's five
Mhm.
players, X's, O's, you got to recruit all those different things. However, I think something that gets strongly overlooked from people that aren't in the world of basketball is every program is so different, right? Number
Yeah.
of scholarships, who you're recruiting, you don't recruit all the same players. The style you're wanting to play, how you do certain defensive schemes, how you do offensive schemes, how the coaching staff, who takes what roles. So, as you're kind of going between all of these different programs, I mean, what's the first week or two like? I mean, the old adage is drinking out of a fire hose, but I mean, talk about getting settled in and just learning the process of the new program.
The staff was dynamite, and
Yeah.
me and Brian had already been friends for 4 or 5 years or so at this point. And I had gone up and spent some time with him. You got to remember, Nate Oates at that time was 5 years removed from being a high school math teacher.
Right.
So we had Jim Weitzel on staff who had been in the game for a while and was just phenomenal as a person and at what he did.
Yeah.
And those guys like welcomed me with open arms. And I really, really felt like there would be no job that would be thrown at me that I wasn't prepared for because at Division II level, you get to do everything from order the
Right.
buses to order the food to help call the plays to recruit the players to coach and practice. So I
Yep.
was really confident that whatever job that he needed me to do, whether it was, hey, you just gonna work guys out, or hey, you just gonna rebound, like, or hey, I need you to make me a game plan, or I was confident that I would be prepared, and that was a testament to the 6 years that I spent with Dip, the 2 years at Oak Hill, and the 1 year at King College.
Yeah. That's amazing. So you're at Buffalo now and you and Brian have been friends, get to coach together for a few years, but after a couple of years there, I believe he transitions on. And, just talk about that for you. I think, sometimes within a staff, you can click with everyone. Sometimes you have one or two people you're really tight with, but maybe there's other people within the staff that I'm not as close with. But talk about, having somebody, that you were really close with transition on from a coaching standpoint.
It was tough because we lived together as well,
Yeah.
and so our staff kind of split up, but it was a really good thing because Nate went to the SEC, which he's had the ultimate success, and Coach Weitzel, who was on our staff as our associate head coach, got the job, so he was afforded a chance to be a head coach again.
Yeah.
And so when he called and asked, would I be interested in staying with him and running his offense and being serving an even bigger role, I was elated. And so I think that was a testament too of just kind of doing the job and whatever needed to be done and doing it because I was an outsider coming in. I was the only new guy on staff that year when I first got to
Yeah.
Buffalo, and I kind of blended well and tried to help bring some cohesiveness that they already had, but had tried to take it to another level. So I felt really good because a lot of times those type of coaching changes happen, and some guys don't go with the guy that got the bigger job, nor do they stay with the guy that got the new job. And so I was fortunate I wasn't in that predicament.
It's amazing. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, hey, the thing that I've loved the most is just being able to pour into young men and help grow and develop them into the men they're going to be in the future. So, as you're making these different coaching moves, right, you're going through some emotional battles and some change of life things, but you're also getting, more and different and new opportunities. So, did you notice kind of right away in your coaching journey that, hey, I'm getting some of these opportunities that I saw I value my dad getting so early on?
Oh, absolutely. Like one of my favorite things now, like those two teams that we had at Buffalo were like special teams.
Yeah.
Probably the not probably the two most successful years in school history. And like, I remember some marquee wins and those kind of things and cutting down the nets and going to the tournament for the first
Yeah.
time. But the things that that really like mean the most to me is like seeing those guys now with families
Yeah.
and seeing those guys like when I have something going on, life changes or whatnot, having those guys call or text and I'm reading these texts like, man, is this the same guy that when we got him as a freshman at Buffalo was just a train wreck.
Yeah.
Like just that growth in between and seeing them be productive men in society and fathers and husbands, like that's the most important part of me. That part is special. So I really, really enjoy seeing that aspect of it.
Oh, I love that. Now, you hit the nail on the head, the first opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament. So, talk a little bit about, that first chance to go and compete on the grandest scale in college basketball.
Oh man, it was special. And you know what? What made it more special is exactly 1 year prior, 1 year and 1 day, we're playing in the Division II national tournament, and and good crowd, really high level Division II game, And I remember getting to Buffalo and sitting there on the bench. The game was pretty in hand versus Arizona. It was about 3 or 4 minutes left. And I remember thinking to myself, a year ago, I was doing this at Augusta University. We had a really good season. And here I am on CBS. Everybody's watching. And like we're beating a team that was a lot of people picked to go to the Final Four, and we're
Yeah.
doing it pretty handily. And I'm right here, and Nate is saying, "Okay, what do you think we should do here?" You know, hey, coach, we might want to look for this, or I'm giving input, and that realization moment there was, man, I belong in this room, and man,
Mm,
I was prepared to be here in this room, and also it's funny how life can change in a short time. So like I'll never ever forget that moment, that
yeah.
feeling. It was about 2 minutes left, looking down at their bench, and the game was pretty much over. And that was definitely one of the highlights of my professional career so far.
Amazing. Now, as time in Buffalo goes on, once again, there's a coaching change. You're sticking around. You're there. Eventually, opportunity at Arkansas State comes around. So, talk a little bit about the transition and the move from Buffalo down to Arkansas.
It was so after 4 years there at Buffalo, Brian got the job at Arkansas State, and he actually called me, and he called T Butters as well. And we had always said if one of us was fortunate enough to get a head coaching job, and if it made sense that we would, we'd be there,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what happened. And so T left Charleston Southern. I was leaving Buffalo, and we hit the ground running, and really, really cool. That was something that I hadn't been a part of. Building a program with the first year head coach who also happened to be a close friend of mine, and thought it would be an unbelievable opportunity. And we were able to have success in the 2 years that we were there, and it kind of transitioned us up and up to where we are now. But it was a easy. I just got married. My wife was pregnant, our
Man.
first child. So life had changed a little from just packing up the car, driving to Buffalo. But it was an exciting time, and we purchased our first home in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And it was a really good experience, really good experience, really good people in Jonesboro.
Amazing. Now, talk about, adding the element of getting married. It's one thing when you're a single guy and you say, "Hey, I'm packing up my car and I'm driving, 14 hours to get to the next location." It's another thing when all of a sudden you have a wife that you're all right, we should probably talk about this and think about it, but, honey, I did make a promise to a guy many years ago, probably before I even knew you, so we gotta go, but, talk a little bit about that and adding the element and also, maybe just the support from, the behind the scenes that it takes to be able to do what you do because the season's long, the days are long,
Oh yeah.
and it really never stops, right? I mean, we get a week or 2 of, downtime and that's about it, so
No, it really doesn't. Yeah, she's the boss. So she's the number one boss and number one supporter. So we were married our last year in Buffalo, and
yeah.
so I convinced her to move from Los Angeles to Buffalo. Uh, we
But
get
this guy is
married.
a heck of a recruiter, folks.
No, we get married, and then we moved to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and so yeah, 'cause my life changed a lot while I was in Buffalo, man. I had a lot of death, had a lot of like it was just got married. It was a lot of that was a big big season of change for me,
Yeah,
and so moving to in a new phase of life minus a lot of people, which was that took a toll.
yeah,
And being married now, so it just wasn't me. And so it wasn't, oh yeah, you can hop in the car and go, but hey, is this going to work for our family? Um, she was dynamite. She's been on board. She knows that it's a difficult life.
yeah,
Now she's actually in Georgia with both little ones while we get settled here in Providence. So she's a special person. It takes a special spouse to date a coach
yeah.
and really special one. So I'm forever grateful. And yeah, now all these decisions are they're compound decisions by both of us.
Amazing. So, as you know, Brian, as a head coach, has had additional doors open up. Well, you guys are a great nucleus of a staff, and so you've had doors open up as well. So from Arkansas State, you ended up going to South Florida last year, and talk about the great year at South Florida. I mean, winning the conference, and then also making the NCAA tournament, and just talk about the specialness that was that season.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm like, "Hey, honey, guess what? There might be opportunity, possibility that we may be moving again." Uh, and she's pregnant again with child number 2. So we
That's
put
what
our
every
house on the
pregnant wife
market.
wants to hear, right?
You're right. We put our house on the market and, we moved to Tampa. Uh, yeah, we did a good job, and Brian's the kinda guy that he said, pretty much, I'm not taking a job unless I can bring my staff with me that helped me, have the success that I had, and so I was fortunate enough to be a part of that number. And we got to Tampa, and our goal was to compete in year 1, and that was our number 1 goal. Not to, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's ease into it." Um, South Florida was coming off of a really, really tough year, having losing Coach Amir, and it was okay. Let's just kind of right the ship. And we said, no, man, Coach, he really set some high standards. This place was the trajectory was on an unbelievable path. Like, let's just pick it up and keep it going.
Nice.
And that was our number 1 goal, and we did a pretty good job of it, we thought. And we got some really good guys in there that were good players and good people that the community and alums and administration got behind, and we took off and had an unbelievable year. Got to the NCAA tournament again, so that was an unbelievable feeling to get back to the tournament. When we were at Arkansas State, we played in the tournament championship both years, but just couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah.
And so to get back to the championship game and finish the job was a really good feeling. And it opened up doors to get us here to Providence where we are today.
Absolutely. Now, as a staff, and I think that's probably one of the amazing things about having a core nucleus that has, been together for a series of years, is you start to develop certain principles. And you talked about, hey, what culture are we building? What are, what's a phrase that our team, is going to live by? What's our motto? So talk a little bit about, what one or two, mottos and culture building things you guys are doing to just create that nucleus where in today's world of, NIL and having to bring in, 5 or 6, well, gosh, a lot of times more than that, but, 5 or 6 brand new guys and needing them to start clicking right away. Talk about what you guys are doing to build strong culture amongst the team and the players.
One thing we try to pride ourselves on, especially where college basketball is right now, where it's so much more transactional
Yeah.
instead of translational, is really being meticulous in the type of people that we bring in. So,
Mm,
not only we want to bring in good players, but most importantly, we want to be good people.
yeah.
Especially, we spend so much time with them. They're around our families. They're around our young kids. So many of the guys on staff have young kids. Like, we want to be around people that we enjoy being around. And
Yeah.
so that's number 1. We really try to do a good job of identifying the character of these guys. From a team and cultural standpoint, I would probably think that the one thing that I personally enjoy the most is our team retreat.
Nice.
And so this is we started this kind of a little different, but the same concept when we were at Buffalo.
Yeah.
But what we do is so when the guys come back at the end of summer workouts, right before school starts, we'll hop on a bus and we'll go and we'll have 4 retired Navy SEALs, and there's no phones, and we just spend 48 hours together. And
Yeah.
man, Phil, it's amazing how much we grow in those 48
Mm.
hours. So there's a physical component led by the SEALs, and a tough physical component. Uh,
I
it is it instills some discipline, some attention to detail, some pushing them outside of their comfort zones and their physical limits. And probably my favorite part though is the cultural aspect that we do at night times when we
Mm.
we do a couple activities. we have a segment where guys just tell their stories. Everyone that touches our program that's there. And there's no, oh, there's a 2 minute time limit. Some guys get up there for 10 minutes, some guys, and they just tell their story, what makes them tick,
Mm,
what has been difficult for them in life. And we have a lot of different stories. And
yeah.
there's one thing I can guarantee every year that we do this is that there's going to be some tears in there.
Yeah.
And everyone from the top to the bottom tells their story, what makes them tick, so just it could be something as simple as what they need help with, and so we leave out of there, especially after that activity, knowing how to treat each other, knowing, hey, what makes Jamie tick as opposed to what makes Brian tick,
Yeah.
how I can better coach that young man, what kind of stuff they respond to because of some past trauma or some not even trauma, some successes. And we think that 48 hours is vital to what we do. We think we win 4 or 5 games that weekend that we spend together. It helps us win 4 or 5 games in January.
Amazing. Now, as you guys are, developing that team cohesiveness and doing an activity like telling your story, um, I think activities like that are only as good as the leader is, right? If you get up and you tell a very surface level story, usually the people that follow after go on a very surface level amount, right? It takes a very unique person to say, well, I'm actually going to go deeper than what the leader did. So, how is that for you guys as, the coaching staff? I mean, is it a coaching staff first? Do you find that team leader that you feel like, hey, that's our guy and we're going to, allow the players to go first? Or how do you guys set the tone and essentially set the standard for what we're going to be sharing there?
Um, Brian sets the tone
Yeah.
just by telling his story, as our leader, and then we kind of let it happen organically. Like especially once they see that okay, like we can let our guard down here. We can we can be genuine. We can open up and we let it happen organically. So we essentially, hey, let guys volunteer, let guys do their thing, and it's a really really powerful weekend. Not only that activity, but just watching guys face fears, whether it's water, whether it's um, being underwater or being in mud or their fear of heights, just watching guys face fears and grow and watching the way that teammates pull guys ahead, that they're there for 'em, and it's a special, special weekend.
Amazing. Now, as you head into this new season, Providence is getting some fun guys, some good coaches. Talk about, just this new year and what you're most excited about heading into the new year.
I'm really excited about the group that we put together. We'll add 1 or 2 more, but we're most excited because we think we have good players. That's secondary, but they're really good people.
Yeah.
And we've had a chance to spend time with all of them when they visited campus. We went to visit some of them, spend time with their families, talking, FaceTiming, Zooms, and we're excited about the collection of young men that we put together as people in a very, very rich basketball culture and tradition.
Yeah.
We think the community will really get behind these guys because they're good players and good people. And so super, super excited. Everyone, everywhere we go in town, if you have on a Friar logo, hey, go Friars. So everyone here is excited about basketballs and the upcoming season. So that has us pumped to get to work.
That's amazing. Now, outside of, I know you said, hey, we're really looking for good basketball players, even better people. Um, I think, so many leaders are in a tough spot where maybe they've got a strong salesperson, but they're not a good fit in the culture. And they say, well, gosh, we can't afford to lose the sales, because it's really important to the business. But the person is just the wrong fit in a culture. And I'm sure, and you don't have to name any names, I'm sure at some point in your coaching career, that's happened where there's one person on the team that's not buying into the cultural fit. And you say, hey, the team is more important than the individual. But how do you, have those conversations? How do you help that, singular person that maybe hasn't had an event like you or I have had where you realize, hey, the team's more important than me. I'm just trying to find where I fit and what role I can fill on the team.
Um, a big part of it is like we talk to the guys all the time about this is your team. This is
Mm,
you guys' team, not us. Like this is your team, and a player led team is better than a coach led team any day.
yeah,
So we hope that we establish a culture that's so strong, that's so tight knit that those guys have no choice but to come over to the 80% with the rest of the guys. And so we feel like we've been able to do that, and that's a big part of I think winning as well. It's kind of one of the byproducts of that. But we feel good about you know the guys knowing that this is their team, that they're able to get those guys like that sometimes take a while to get over to the other side. That
yeah.
they're able to get them over to the other side, and it may not completely change their mindset, but
Yep,
they're able to get them over to the other side enough for the betterment of the team and the
yep.
betterment of the long term success of the team. So that's a really good question. That's really a big focal point of why we do things, why we structure things the way we do, so that the guys can help get everybody over across the line.
Love it. I love it. Well, Jamie, I want to say thanks so much for sharing your journey and your story, and excited for the year ahead. And I know we'll be doing this again in like 4 years, and we'll see where this coaching staff is at or what you guys are doing, winning the NCAA championships with the Friars. But good luck this season, and congratulations.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, man. I was strolling down the list of people that have been on the show and listening to some of it. I'm like, oh man. So I'm glad to be in the number. I appreciate it.